Welcome students, this is Miss Smith and I have the pleasure of presenting you surface area of rectangular prisms. Before we begin, I want to remind you of a couple of things with a video. It's a video, so you can pause it, play it, rewind it whenever you need to. You may want to take that opportunity right now to pause the video and go grab some paper and pencil so you can take down notes and do practice problems as needed. Let's get started. So we have some notes here that we're going to kind of read as we go through. So we're going to start with surface area. Surface area is the total covering on the surfaces of a three-dimensional object. So basically it's everything on the outside of a three-dimensional object. I kind of think of it as the box that comes around your cereal, the cardboard box. It will always be measured in units squared. Some examples of these would be wrapping something, painting the exterior of a 3D figure, etc. So just think, surface area is the area of all the surfaces. Rectangular prisms are made up of the following faces. We have the bases, and there are two rectangular bases. We know that because it's a rectangular prism. These bases are parallel and congruent. The lateral faces, there are four rectangular faces connecting the bases. The height of a rectangular prism is called h, and the distance between the two bases. So remember, your height connects your two bases on a rectangular prism. So here we have a rectangular prism. So I want you to pause for a second and shade in what you think would be the bases. And I did put down there, for rectangular prism, the shaded bases may vary. Sometimes I purposely don't choose the ones that are on the bottom of the figure, so students don't start to think that the base automatically means bottom. A base just has to be the parallel to each other. So pause it if you want to try first. Here we go. Let's check out this first one. So an example of two bases could be this right here and this right here. If you notice, they're two rectangles, they're parallel, and then they're connected by this height. The height connects the two bases. For the next one, the bases we're going to say are these two over here. Remember, base does not have to mean bottom as long as they are parallel and they are connected by a height. For our third one, I did use the top and bottom here, and then they are connected by the height. And for our last one, again, it's on a slant. It doesn't really matter because base doesn't mean bottom. It's those two connecting parallel congruent pieces. So when we're working with surface area, there are actually formulas that we can use. So for the first one, we have this formula, capital P, H. Well, capital P is a new letter for us, and we're going to start with the lateral surface area. Okay, so when you think of a figure and you think of the lateral surface area, it's the faces, but it does not include the bases. So I think of like a toilet paper roll. I know that's not a rectangular prism, but that's a very good visual for me of what lateral surface area is. So capital P stands for perimeter of the base. And then the lowercase h is height of the prism. So get the lateral, you take the perimeter of the base times the height of the prism. So the formula in your own words could be something like, find the perimeter of the base by adding the four sides of the base, then multiply the perimeter of the height. Remember, perimeter is just the distance around the base, and in this case, it's a rectangle or a square. Now, when you have total surface area, this is faces and bases. This is everything. That's why we have the two area of bases we added. So again, capital P is perimeter of the base. H stands for height of the prism. And then capital B, we remember from volume, is area of the base. So a way that you could say that you do this, you find the perimeter of the base. You multiply it by the height of the prism. Then you find the area of the base, which is base times height, and multiply it by 2. And you add these all together. Now, why do I multiply it by 2? Well, a rectangular prism has two bases. So here's our thinking question. What makes the formula for surface area different from the formula for lateral surface area? Pause the video and think. All right, I hope you did some thinking. So I hope you came up with that surface area is really talking about all of it, the faces and the bases, while lateral surface area is only talking about the faces, no bases included. So let's try two problems out. Josie is going to find the lateral surface area of the prism shown. So we're going to go through that. We got to figure out what the formula is. Well, if we want lateral, we're going to use the formula perimeter of the base times the height of the figure. So remember, capital P stands for perimeter of the base. Well, we're going to assume that this is our base right here. So if this side is 5, and this side is 5, and this side is 5, and this side is 5, it's a square. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, or 5 times 4, is going to give us 20. So that's our perimeter of our base. Now the height of our figure. If this is a base and this is a base, the height connects the two of them. So our height is going to be 8. Now, if I want to find the lateral surface area, up here it tells me multiply the perimeter of the base times the height of the figure. So I'm going to do 20 times 80 and get, dun, 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 160 centimeters squared. Don't forget this is area, and area is in square units. Well, this time it's asking for the total surface area. So I'm going to tell you we are going to use the base of this bottom part right here and this top part right here, just because we want to all be on the same page. Now, because it's total surface area, even if we pick different bases, we'll get the same answer. So our formula is going to be perimeter of the base times the height of the figure plus 2 times area of the base. So for our perimeter, we have 11 plus 4. Well, the other side is going to be 11 and 4. So 11 plus 4 is 15. 15 times 2, because I need all 4 of these sides, is going to give me 30. Now, if I said this was my base and this was my base, what connects them is this 3. So our height of our figure is going to be 3. Well, now we need to find capital B. And capital B stands for area of the base. So I'm looking at a rectangle. How do I find the area of a rectangle? Base times height. So I'm going to multiply 11 times 4, or 4 times 11. It works out the same both ways. And I'm going to get the area of my base of my figure is 44. So now I got to put it all together. So it's going to skip just a little bit here for us. So perimeter of the base, which was 30, times the height of the figure, which is 3. Well, what's 30 times 3? 90. Then 2 times the area of base. What's 44 plus 44? 88. So I have all of that in this long formula here. 30 plus 3, 30 times 3 plus 2 times 44 is 178 inches squared. Remember, this is surface area, so I have to have inches squared. Now remember, these two are different because in the top one, it asked me for lateral surface area. Only the sides, no bases. Faces, no bases. So I used only perimeter of the base times the height of the figure. And the bottom one, it asked me for total. So it's the whole shenanigan, the whole thing, faces and bases. That's why this formula has the plus 2 area of the base. So what I want you to do now is I want you to actually press pause on the video and solve this problem. So do it. Press pause now and solve this problem. All right, I hope you really did press pause. Here is how I solved it. Now yours could look slightly different. So the first thing I did is I decided, okay, I'm going to shade in my 2 bases because I want to make sure I know what my bases are. Then I have to write the formula. Surface area equals perimeter of the base times the height of the figure plus 2 times area of the base. I'm going to rewrite it and substitute my values. Well, capital P is perimeter of the base, so I've got to figure out what's the perimeter of the base. I like to write it separately so that I can see it a little better. Everyone works these differently. So I drew my base, and I know that there's a 13 and a 6, and there's 2 of them. So 13 plus 6 is going to give me 19, and 2 times 19 is 38. I could have just added all 4 of these and I would have got the same one. So I plug it in now, and then I see that my height is 14. Well, now I have to have 2 of the area of the base. So I'm going to do the same thing I did for perimeter of the base. I'm going to redraw it. This is a personal preference, but it keeps me organized. It's a rectangle, so I use area equals base times height. The base and height are 13 and 6. I'm going to multiply 13 and 6 and get 78. Now I can go substitute that back into my formula. So now I'm going to start bringing it down a little bit more. 38 times 14 is 532. I might have used a calculator. 2 times 78 is 156. And the very last thing, drum roll, I add those two together and I get 688 millimeters squared. Don't forget to have your dimensions, your label on there so we know what you're talking about. Now, when I look for my lateral surface area, it's in my total surface area. It's that section, and it's 532 millimeters squared. Now, my total surface area is going to be the entire formula, which is surface area equals 688 millimeters squared. I decided to do one formula and just pull out the pieces. It's really up to you how you prefer. So now, your assignment, you are going to pause this video and you are going to solve these 4 problems, these 3 problems. Problem 4, which actually does have 2 questions, and it's just like the one we just did. Problem 5, which is a word problem, just read it carefully. And problem 6, a word problem, read it carefully. I'm going to give you a hint. On problem 5 and problem 6, one of them asks you to find the total surface area, while the other asks you to find the lateral surface area. Really think about what the question is asking you. So again, you're going to pause this video, solve these problems on notebook paper, and then you will fill out the Google form with your answers. Best of luck. I hope this was helpful.